Thank you very much for joining this session today. So it's 4 p.m. in Moscow, and I think that it's time to get started. I'm happy to introduce our presenter, Claire Barnes, Cambridge Assessment English presenter and teacher trainer. Hi, Claire. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm fine. It stopped raining. Yay.
Oh, great news. So I've just uploaded your slides. Can you see your presentation?
Indeed, yes. Very excited about that.
Great. Okay. So let's get it started. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Julia. And hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the day's event, as it is. Remember, I'm going to be asking you to interact with me through the chat box, through the regular chat box. And I'm positively going to be demanding that you interact with me on that through that medium. But you have at the top in the right-hand corner, top right-hand corner of your screen, another chat box with a question mark. If you have any questions about content or anything, please put your questions into that chat box, and then I will get around to answering that later. All right, fabulous. Now let me just figure out. Oh, there we go. Okay. I always have to remind myself how to move my slides on, because I'm a little bit stupid, really. But anyway, today we're talking about young learners, Cambridge Young Learner Qualifications, starters, movers, and flyers. When it says in some detail, bearing in mind that we only have 60 minutes, it's not going to be in exhaustive detail, but still, I hope we're going to be able to talk about that. And here already is your first opportunity to interact with me. Please, in the chat box, can you now type, why do our learners need English? What do you think? Why do our learners need English? In the chat box, please. Yeah, oh, I like that one, to feel more confident in the future. That's an interesting comment there. It is a lingua franca. Studies, yeah. Have friends in other countries. Yeah, nice. Okay, travel, yeah, okay, lovely. All right. I'm happy to see so many of you typing so quickly. Better opportunities, good point. Watch cartoons. Nice. But you know, people have different interests, absolutely, to read English books in English, possibly. Yeah. And what do your learners answer you there? You know, it's an interesting thing there. To socialize with peers, to watch movies, yes. But a lot of the movies shown within the Russian-speaking world also tend to be shown dubbed into Russian, which is a bit off, isn't it, really? Play computer games, that's another point, absolutely. Okay, this is what we're looking at, okay? So yeah. For all of these things, I think you've actually mentioned quite a lot of all of these things. I'm using a second computer, so if I keep looking that way, I apologize. Okay, we've talked about all of this. Education increasingly needs English, particularly if your students wish to study abroad, or if your students wish to complete, for example, at some point in the dim and distant future, a master's program abroad. There are many, many master's programs around the world which run in English. Traveling with confidence, always a good thing. Yeah, working as well, because, okay, you know, it's a world economy, globalization, and we need to be able to work within that as well. And by starting them, you know, at this age, by learning at this age, the idea is that language learning will become also easier, hopefully, for them. Yeah. So yeah, why start them so young? I like that. Nice idea, Elena, down the bottom there. Okay, why start English so young? Well, there is a survey, European Survey of Language Competences, that was carried out in 2012, which, okay, is almost 10 years ago now, but still, carried out on behalf of the European Commission, discovered, among other things, that the earlier children begin learning a language, the higher the level of proficiency that they're likely to achieve. So if they start learning in a structured manner now, at the age of 6 or 7, or even younger in some cases, then the idea is that by the time they get to 18, 19, they're more proficient. Okay, so, yeah, successful language learning requires. Over to you again. What do you think successful language learning might require? Wow. Okay. Can see lots of people saying motivation, desire is always useful. They need a tutor. Inspiration. I like that. Structure and routine, also a good idea, yeah. Practice, obviously. It's like everything else that we do. Like, riding a bike. Obviously, we need to practice until we can do this without falling off. Okay. I think you've actually mentioned most of these. All right. So yeah, motivation, not just their own motivation. It's not just about the students or the learners being motivated. It's about the teachers being motivated, isn't it? It's about us teachers. If we're not motivated, then we can't motivate other people. And another thing, and I think someone already mentioned this in the chat, parents. Parents can help simply by supporting their children, by encouraging them to learn, by making the most of the opportunities that they have. Yeah, confidence. All 4 skills, though. Confidence in all 4 skills. Yeah, and we need to take this opportunity with our young learners to build up this confidence, not just in speaking, but also in listening and in reading. Yeah, because these are the 2 problematic skills that we often forget about. So we need to work on those as well. Everything's easier if it's fun, isn't it? We need to have very clear objectives, because without that, it's very difficult for teachers to actually structure the course. And I think one of the really good things about Cambridge Assessment English is that I've always found that preparing learners for Cambridge Assessment English exams from starters through proficiency and all points in between, I think actually it helps us as teachers to be more organized about what we do and to not leave bits and pieces out. Now, I think in many cases it's too easy just to say, well, here's a reading, here's a text, read it, answer the questions. Got the right answers? No? Oh, what a shame. Let's move on. But I think with Cambridge English, Assessment English, it's easier for us as teachers to remember that we must focus on the sub-skills of reading and listening as well as everything else. Okay, and the way that it's set up helps us to do that. Yeah, obviously that assumes the right level and the right content, and practice, as you've already all mentioned again and again and again. A great teacher is helpful. Exactly. And the point is that these clever people have also found out that well-designed assessment actually has a positive impact on teaching and learning, on the whole entire process, which I think is interesting, isn't it? Okay. Now, this whole young learner thing, what do you know about young learners, people? How old are young learners, for example? How old are young learners? Anybody in the chat box? How old are they? Yep, somebody's in there, 7 till 12 is the recommended lower and upper age limit. Yeah, pre-A1 starters for beginners, for kids around 7, 8 maybe, A1 movers, maybe, 8, 9, 10, and A2 flyers, 10, 11, 12, yeah? And why am I saying, these age groups? Well, because we have to remember that our children are still developing cognitively. And while I may have a 6, 7-year-old whose speaking is A2 flyers level, and believe me, I've been there. I've had this very situation. A pair of twins whose mother was very determined and they had been trained in English, but you put them into a higher level context and they didn't have the cognitive understanding to be able to complete some of the tasks which are required at movers and flyers levels. So that's something that we need to think about as well. Okay. This is a bit small, I'm sorry. But it does give you a sort of an understanding of what children can do at different levels. And of course, we're looking at the Common European Framework, which is available in various different languages. And you can see that, yes, it's not just about adults, it's about kids as well, because the CEFR has basically sorted things out in kiddies' age and in terms of cognitive development there. Okay, right. Help me out again. In the chat box, which skills does the young learner starters, movers, flyers test? Which skills are we expecting our children to be able to do? Listening, yes. 4 skills, all 4 skills, exactly. Very much so, all 4 skills. Because language isn't just the one or the other, is it? It's about all 4 skills, and it's about ensuring that all 4 skills are equally developed, yeah, because I'm sure you've experienced it yourselves. You get teenagers and adults coming through who maybe can speak really well, yoo-hoo for them, good for them, who can possibly even write reasonably well. But when they start reading, it gets slow. And when they start listening, it's really horrible. And do you know why that is? That's because we, as teachers, have not done the groundwork when they were children. We keep forgetting that, yes, listening and reading skills need to be developed. And especially with children, you have the added issue of developing literacy, which affects, obviously, the reading and the writing. So, at Cambridge Assessment English, they've decided, okay, this is important. We need to be able to do this. We have to focus on all 4 skills at the very young age. And I think that's fair, okay? How long are these exams? I mean, do they last for minutes or hours or days? How long are these exams? 40 minutes. Could you help me out here? What do you mean by 40 minutes? What is 40 minutes? 65 minutes, somebody's saying. Ooh, 2 to 3 hours. Oy, Eleanor, you really don't like children, huh? Okay. Okay. Oh, wow, this is interesting. Tatiana's even less keen on children, apparently. 3 to 4 hours. Good grief. Have you ever tried to keep a 7-year-old on their seats for 4 hours? About 40 seconds is the most you can hope for, isn't it? Hi there, Daria. Don't worry about it. Better late than never. With intervals. Okay. Right. Someone's done their homework. Well done there, Eleanor. Fabulous. Okay, so you can see on the screen right now, you can see basically what happens at each level. Okay, so starters, reading and writing, they always start actually with listening with young learners. Any ideas why we would start with listening with young learners? It's usually listening, reading and writing, and then speaking separately. Not tired yet. There speaks a teacher. Okay. Are you sure about that? Are you really sure about that? I think for flyers, certainly, maybe it does get more challenging, but that's usually because the teacher hasn't done the work. It's fun. Yeah, good point there. Yeah, I think there are two reasons for the listening first. First of all, we all know, okay, you start some kind of noise in the classroom, either a CD, music, or dialogue, or whatever, and that's the quickest way to get the kids settled. Screaming at them isn't that useful, okay? Yeah, so I think that's one of the major reasons why they do the listening first. And also, you're all saying that listening is more challenging. And for adults, it can be. And for teenagers, that's because teenagers and adults worry a lot more about what they hear. Children don't worry. Children hear stuff, they don't care. And therefore, it's actually easier for them to start with the listening. Because if you think of literacy in terms of literacy, it's, they don't have to necessarily read very much. They've got the question papers and they can listen, and it's easier for them to focus that way. Okay, right, let's have a look, shall we, at exactly positive start. There we go. At some of the tasks. Now, Cambridge has done a lot of work in the last 20 years in terms of standardizing task types and making sure that a task type that you have young learners starters will come back in at movers and flyers and key and preliminary and first, and basically, so that it's easier. Learners do not have to be retrained for completely different tasks every single time. And also for the learner themselves, it's easier to register progress. So if we look at this, okay, you can see on the left-hand side there, the starters listening task, or the first one of the listening tasks from starters. They have to look at the picture and they have to draw lines to associate the people with what's happening. And we have the same task coming back in at flyers, okay? Starters, for example, is much more limited. It reflects the words on the starters word list, whereas at the higher level, it gets a little more complex. So, for example, you can see, you might have reference to a boy in a red t-shirt on the left-hand side, whereas at flyers, it's already going to be the boy wearing a striped sweater. You can see already colors everybody is confident with, and very quickly. The idea we've moved now by flyers, we've moved away from the colors and we're saying a striped sweater. So that's the kind of difference that you're looking at. Yeah. Okay. Right. You've got throughout, obviously, the Young Learners series, you've got lots of pictures. These pictures keep coming back again and again, which is another good thing, because familiarization makes it easier for learners to adjust as they move up through the levels. Also makes it an awful lot easier for you as teachers, for us as teachers, to keep, adapt and reusing material. And I mean, if you think about it, this is a listening task, okay? So how often would you practice this kind of listening task? Would you practice it once and then forget about it? Would you practice it once a month and then forget about it? Or would you practice it once a week? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm going to say there, yeah, once a week, absolutely. Well, maybe not every lesson, because that's going to make for a very long lesson by the time you got through all of the tasks. Yeah, I think it's got to be more than sometimes. I think it's got to be quite often. It's got to be quite regular. To not just to familiarize the learners with the task, but also to make them feel comfortable. And that's the great thing. Our learners, no matter how old they are, need to feel comfortable with the task. And it's like everything else, like you said, practice, practice, practice. That's what it is, isn't it, really? Okay. Now here's something that we can use perhaps in the classroom. This is just an idea, okay? You can see it's a kind of a bingo idea. And for example, I'm going to read something out to you. Look at the pictures. What do the children like to eat or drink? Let's start with Grace. Grace likes to eat some bread for breakfast. Okay, so you can see the line from Grace to the bread, okay? Obviously, in this webinar mode, I can't really have you writing all over my screen, which is very sad. So I'm going to ask you to do something a little more advanced. I'm going to read out some more information about the other children, and I'm going to ask you to listen very carefully and to tell me, okay, which child is not mentioned. All right, which child is not mentioned at all. Okay, just the name of the child in the chat box. I'm not going to read it as slowly as they will for the starters people, because, well, hey, come on, we're real people, we're adults, right? So, Alex enjoys breakfast. Alex likes to eat a banana for breakfast. May loves lunch. May likes to drink lemonade for lunch. And then Matt likes ice cream for lunch. And what does Ava like for dinner? Ava likes chicken. What does our friend Sam like for dinner? Sam loves rice. Oh, very quick. Very quick. Absolutely. I didn't mention Dan. Now, obviously, in your classes, you're not going to read things as quickly as that, because the children also need to receive the information and need to process the information before they can come up with a response. What is the important thing to say about Dan, apart from the fact that he clearly doesn't eat at all? Why is Dan important while we're practicing? What's the point about Dan? Not getting any response. It's a distractor. Thank you. Exactly. Basically, with all Cambridge exams, yes, you are going to have more options than you need. Can anyone tell me why? Yeah, absolutely. Vita. Hi, Vita. The Vita. Yeah, it is. The idea is that if you have 6 questions and 6 answers, then obviously they're going to have to listen out carefully for 1 or 2, but also there's going to be an increased option to just sort of randomly match people and still get points, and also this element of elimination kicks in. So it's important for assessment purposes, and therefore it's important that we get our kids used to that in class as well. Okay. You've noticed names, and we've mentioned, or I've mentioned, a word list. All right. And the thing about this is that there are, on that word list, there are a number of names which Cambridge has announced they will be using. And I think for those of us teaching in contexts where these names are not standard, do need to be aware of these names and do need to make sure that our children understand that these are names. And again, you can do all sorts of things with that. You can create your own bingo games with just the names, and to familiarize the kids with what they sound like and also what they look like. Hi there, Vita. Okay. And as we said, we're talking about word lists. That's where you're going to find, for example, the word lists. If you go to cambridgeenglish.org, you'll find word lists, and also lists of language that is expected at different levels. You'll find that on the websites. There's a whole special booklet. You're looking there at another listening task. And here, again, this is a listening task that goes from starters through movers through flyers. It gets a little more complex as we go on. Here, they just have to listen and colour in the different balloons. In the next level up, then there'll be different objects. And the next level above that implies it's not just colouring, but also drawing pictures no, they dropped the drawing, sorry, writing words, yeah, okay. And you can see also that the idea is that we're listening for specific information here, whereas in other parts of the listening test, we're listening for gist and so on. So all of these sub-skills, which I know teachers hate, but are a part of life. We do not listen to everything in the same way. And this is reflected in the tests as well. Okay, right. Moving on. Okay. Has anyone come across this website before? I found it while I was preparing this particular event, and I actually looked at it. In the moment, I'm unfortunately not in a position to be teaching little people because I work, well, because for reasons anyway. So I'm not being able to try this out. I was threatening my teenagers with it as well, but it's actually quite a useful little website. And it does give you all sorts of things to be looking out for. So there are also here you can see from the screenshot lyrics and activities for each of the songs on there. So I think that's actually a very useful little website for our little people. Okay, moving on to the reading and writing. Everyone thinks, writing. Actually, no, the biggest problem in life in general is reading. If you can read, you can write as well. That's not the problem. Okay. This is movers, all right. Sorry, starters. Sorry, this is starters, yes. It just says write yes or no. So all the children have to do is to read the sentence, to understand the sentence, to process the information, to find it on the picture, and to write yes or no. That's easy, you think. Then it becomes this same task, but at this point, you've combined already the reading with the writing. So the first two sentences, they now, instead of saying yes or no, they have to complete the sentences. The boy on the bike is wearing grey. So at this point, your learner has to read that sentence, has to understand it, has to find it on the picture, and has to write in the write in the correct word. Okay, in the chat box, people, is wearing grey what? It's not wearing grey anything, apparently. Okay, for an American version, please remember also Cambridge Assessment English. They do accept Americanisms, but I'm not sure if pants is on the starters word list or the movers word list. You need to check that. Yeah, the picture is tiny. I'm sorry. I could retaliate by saying you're probably watching on a very small screen. Hey, okay. And then the second one, obviously, then we have questions. What's the girl in the black skirt doing? What is the girl in the black skirt doing? Yeah, am I expecting one word or a whole sentence, or what am I expecting at this stage? Carrying. Okay, right, fair enough. Walking, yeah, carrying a tray. Okay, fair enough. Carrying something. What's a phrase. Yeah, actually, one word is already a big step forward. But yes, she's walking. She's going out of the house. Maybe she's carrying a tray. Whatever. Where are the flowers? Next to the door. Okay, right. And then you can see the last two sentences. They actually have to produce sentences. Okay. Yeah, if I talk about how it's assessed, it's going to take forever. But basically, am I assessing at this stage? Am I assessing content or accuracy? As in spelling, as in verb forms. It's all about content, really and truly. Spelling is more important for listening and for the actual reading if they have to produce something in those parts of the test. But for writing, becomes less important. The main thing is that I can understand what this person wants to tell me. So it's all about content rather than total accuracy at this stage. And I think that's also important because I think it's too easy for us teachers to terrify the children by simply saying, that's wrong. Every single time the child opens their mouth to speak, it's wrong. Or every single time the child writes a word, is so proud of themselves because they've actually written the word, and the teacher goes, wrong. Seriously, how would you feel? So it's important. Yes, accuracy is important, more so in the listening and the reading. But as far as actual production is concerned, we're more concerned about encouraging the children to produce. And yes, some of it is going to be inaccurate, but production is more important at some stages of this test. It is not that simple, yes. Good evening, Tatjana. Whatever. If you're saying evening, then I'm guessing it's a lot later than where I am. Okay, so let's have a go at practicing this. Giving you the picture now. The last two things, they're actually asked to produce sentences, very simple sentences. Okay, so in the chat box, I'd like everyone, please, to write a simple sentence about that picture. Please do not show me how proficient you people are. I know you're proficient. You're teachers. Of course you are. What kind of sentence do you think the children might produce? Okay, we've got enough red cards. Thank you. Come on. Right. Oh, there we go. Right. Dita is clearly pretending she's, a 5-year-old. Okay. Right. Lovely. Fabulous. Okay. Yeah, all sorts of things. When you say, lots of people are saying the dog is swimming. How many dogs are there in point of fact? It's summer. Nice idea. Okay, so you could talk about there being 2 dogs. And what is the black and white dog doing? Okay. A yellow helmet. Nice. Okay. Yeah, very color-coded the boy on the bike is, isn't he? Yeah. Dog is bathing. Nice try. Not sure that dogs ever consciously bathe, but whatever. Yeah. Okay, there's a chair next to there. Yeah, you see, you can do this. Okay, and I think it's important to allow our students to produce that kind of stuff as much as possible. Yeah. Okay. Add in a twist. Write something that is not true about this picture. Write something that is not true. Okay. There we go. It is snow. Okay, good. I like this. Okay, because now, okay, you've got the kids happily producing a sentence about your picture. Let's make it into some kind of competition and get the kids to produce sentences. The others have to listen out and to decide whether the sentence is true or not. Okay, so you're combining production and reception. And if they're writing these sentences, again, they have to read the sentences quite carefully and decide true or false. Okay, and I think that's a useful extension. The mum is wearing a brown skirt. Well, I'm not sure which one you think the mum is, but okay, fair enough. I can't see anyone in a brown skirt. That woman standing on the grass, with the hose pipe there is very tragically dressed, don't we think? It's not exactly fashionable. There are 7 people in the garden. Oh, really? There you go. Okay, right, good. You're obviously having far too much fun at this. Okay. So I'm going to move on. Again, also at flyers, then we move on from words at starters and sentences at movers. We move on to actually writing little stories, okay, which when they first introduced that, a lot of teachers went, but I mean, seriously, guys, come on. You tell stories, you get your children to tell stories themselves in the classroom, and it is part of the speaking test as well for both movers and flyers. So why can't they write them? The idea is that flyers are older. They should be probably 10, 11-ish by the time you're thinking about that, and that they should therefore be able to show that they have the literacy skills. You can see your mom over there. Really? Oh, wow. Okay. So that's the kind of progress that you're looking at. Okay. At this point, I'm supposed to plug things like Story Fun, which is actually quite useful. Comes in different levels, and you have all sorts of different types of activities, as well as lots and lots of pictures, and also the pen friends thing, because then they can write to each other. I did check this out, and apparently it does work, although clearly I'm not sure what the interaction is. I think it's more about having enthusiastic teachers and parents. Okay, right. Now then, how am I doing here? Let's have a look at this. Looking at the speaking test, you can see, again, we have to produce a story. They also do this at flyers. Okay, and you can see if you check through the speaking tests that it actually does become more involved. Starters level, you have the one big picture, and the kids have to put stuff on different parts of the picture. They have to say something is true or not. They have to talk about, tell me about the box, tell me about the cat or whatever. And this develops into the storytelling in speaking, in the movers, and also in the flyers. Now, when we say storytelling, the aliens are very funny. When it gets to the storytelling, are we expecting a proper story? Am I expecting the children to launch into this, Fred loves food, so, and one day the family are around the kitchen table and they're eating whatever it is they're eating there. It looks like chicken and chips or fish and chips. And Dad gets caught up in talking to Mom. He's telling her about the day, and of course Fred is so hungry that he eats his own food really, really quickly, and then he starts eating Dad's food because Dad's not paying attention. And then suddenly Dad comes back and he's got no food left. What's happened to his chips? Yeah, he does look quite upset. Well, yeah, exactly, Rita. It would be lovely, but that's not going to happen. Let's be quite, reasonable about this, quite sensible about this. We're not expecting the children to launch into this whatever. Okay, we are expecting them to be able to make at least one statement about each picture. And the examiners are trained to help them do that. So they tell them first the introduction to the story, and then they say, okay, and now you tell the story, okay? And they will usually help them by pointing to the picture. And if the child can say at least one thing about each of the remaining pictures, then we're all happy. If they want to tell us, launch into a full and wonderful story, then that's also fabulous. But we're not expecting it at this level. Yeah. So if we say, okay, yeah, Fred has finished dinner, but he is still hungry. Yeah. Dad is talking to Mum. So Fred takes his chips, and then Dad has no chips. Oh my, what's happened? They can use any kind of tense. At movers level, as far as I'm aware, they are not expected necessarily to produce the past simple. And remember, we can tell stories in the present simple as well. Okay. Flyers detected, indeed. Well, yeah, they are supposed to learn the present perfect at flyers level. Yeah. Okay. So again, we need to practice this, don't we? So I've come up with some very silly ideas, and I'm going to ask you to join in. Okay. Flyers do not need to use only the past. As we have said, writing and also speaking is assessed on their ability to actually maintain the communication, on their ability to convey information. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Right, so some silly ideas for practicing this. Okay, and I'm going to let you have a go in just a second. First of all, I was using WordWall. And you know the whole WordWall thing. Okay, I'm going to actually change my share screen here, and I'm going to look at this. Hang on, I've lost myself. Where have I gone? There I go. I need to look at this. I need to look at this. Okay, so now I hope you can see. Can you see this? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go for number 3. Okay, in the chat box, please. I want as many sentences as you can think of about this picture. Okay, nice. Good. Lovely. Peter's very advanced. Okay. Lovely. Absolutely fantastic. Good. You see, you can do it. Okay. I thought using WordWall for that maybe was a little bit more fun, assuming that you have the ability in your classrooms, certainly online. Okay. Wow. Irina's got 2 sentences. Woohoo. Okay. I'm going to stop that again. And I'm going to move on because I thought with the older children, there is really no reason why they can't use Padlet. Okay, do we agree? Right, so let's move on, as they say. Okay, I'm going to actually put the Padlet link, please, into the chat box. Okay. Can I ask you to go to Padlet, to open it, and to tell me what you can see? Okay, it's gone awfully quiet. Does that mean you're actually using this? Okay. The same pictures, exactly. But now you can comment. I look forward to my screen being full. The girls are in the car. Thank you very much. Come on, guys. What can you write? Okay, right. Okay, good. Whoa. Okay. Remember, it's not just about what they're doing, it's also about what they're wearing. Yeah. Also think of other features. What do they look like? Thank you. Yes, and how are they feeling? Exactly. Okay. This is fabulous. Oh, his friends have got names now. Wow. Okay, this is cool. The boy is thinking over something while snoring. That's quite clever, actually. I think that's what a lot of men keep claiming, you know. So I'm thinking. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So you can see there's all kinds of things that can be doing. Can you? Okay. Good. Now, I'd like you to think, what will happen next? What will happen next? Yeah. What will happen next? You can see the letters out of this picture. Good point. Good point. Okay, so what do you think will happen next? Whoa, okay. The wave will cover them. Okay, wow. The police will come up next. Oh, wow. Okay, right. Why? A bird will wake him up. I think it's going to take more than a bird. Oh, a shark. Yay! We're getting more and more creative here. This is what we like. Come on, guys. Will they be real police officers, though, or will they be aliens? Oh, now they're playing in the sea. They'll go into the cinema. Okay, fair enough. That's quite a long time afterwards. I think there's going to be quite a lot of things that's going to happen before they get to the cinema. Right. Okay, so they want some cake. Hey, lovely. I like the idea of the sandcastle. Fabulous. Ooh. Okay, he'll wake up. Okay, and then they're all full. Okay, and then okay, the boy will they will have an ice cream shortly because there's an ice cream man in the sea. Okay. They'll get very suntanned. Okay, I guess, maybe. Or in the case of the boy, because he's like redheaded, I think he's just going to go pink. Like every good person from the British Isles, yeah, they don't go tanned, they just go pink. Okay, right. He'll continue reading his boring book. Oh wow, they're going to buy more cake. Excellent. You see? And that's, I think, something also that, oops, where am I going? We can all think about. Okay. Okie doke. Right, yes. Obviously, I've only chosen these 3 pictures just because I had to choose something. But every single picture that you ever encounter in your books, in anywhere you like, there's no reason why the kids can't be encouraged to produce something. Okay. So, right. While you're still having fun with that, let's get back to what we're talking about here, okay? The Cambridge website, cambridgeenglish.org, has an awful lot of resources for us teachers, including speaking test videos and speaking test videos with commentaries. And of course, now we have an idea of how to assess. You just need to read the handbooks, how to assess our children's speaking and writing, and I think the speaking test videos are a very good option. Yeah, speaking examiners often teachers working with children of this age, so clearly they're also used to dealing with the age group. They're also trained to be non-threatening, non-frightening, and smile a lot and keep saying, how wonderful and lovely, and so on and so forth. The idea is that the speaking test, because it's one child with one adult that they don't know, yeah, some children might be a little scared. The idea is to create as non-threatening an atmosphere as is possible for the children. All right. Although, in fairness, in my experience, the children tend to be so excited. Like, I can talk to a person I don't know and they can understand me, which is actually one of the more positive things about this. So you can find these speaking test videos where exactly? In the chat box. If you're looking for these videos, I think you're all too busy having a great time writing stuff on my Padlet, yes? Cambridge, you're going to go all the way to Cambridge. I've never been to Cambridge. Okay. YouTube, yeah, you find at cambridgeenglish.org or on YouTube. Well, both, because the cambridgeenglish.org resources for teachers will log into YouTube. Exactly. So there are all kinds of things going on there. Right. You will find all kinds of things on the website. Things that you can do in class, lesson plans also. There used to be a facility also to be able to share lesson plans, but I think they closed that down in the meantime. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So you can find different activities, different ideas to practice the various different parts of the test there. All right. You've got also the word lists, and the digital resources are actually very helpful, I find, because it comes at you in PDF, which means that all you need to do is to copy and paste and create your own materials using Cambridge pictures to get the children used to the same kind of pictures. You asked a question, did you? Okay, fine, that's wonderful. I'll get around to it in just a second. I will, trust me. Okay. Yeah, that's just whatever. This is, you can tell this is not all my PowerPoint. I added some stuff in and took some stuff out. I've just taken that out. Okay, certificates are all there. You can see they get these nice little shields, which with all sorts of information to let the parents know what it's all about, and also to inform the teachers about what to work on in the future. One thing, as I say, and I'm going to keep hammering this, one thing that we've noticed, if you look at an analysis of results across not just Russia, across the world, you find that at starters, most kids will get 4 or 5 shields for listening, 4 or 5 shields for reading and writing, and 4 or 5 shields for speaking. It's actually quite difficult not to get so many shields. And then you move into movers, and you're still getting 4 or 5 shields for speaking, and maybe 4 shields for reading and writing, maybe only 3 shields in listening. We begin to lose our kids at that point. And if you look at the flyers, again, yeah, productive skills, high, no problems with that. But the receptive skills, and that's because I think we as teachers don't spend enough time looking at these things. So that's something, again, to bear in mind, I think. Okay. You can see all of that mapped onto the Common European Framework of, Obviously, this is an older slide, you can see, because Kiefer Schools doesn't anymore have the merit and distinction, but why? The levels have not changed. Okay, so you can see flyers scoring 5 shields are already at the top level of A2 going into B1. Whatever. Parents, teachers, and learners getting excited. Okay. Apparently, you can get, if you really want to motivate your kids and your schools and the parents, you can get materials from Cambridge to have your own ceremony when they get their certificates, which is all very nice. We've been there. We've done all of that. We've got learning materials, which are actually quite helpful. Okay. And I think now is the time where I'm going to get around for to your questions. Okay, so yeah, we've been there before. We're just reiterating the fact here that exams can actually build motivation because they're child-friendly, because they're non-threatening, and because they give us certificates, actually motivational to get you from one level to the next. And as teachers, I think also it's very motivating for us when we get a gang of kids through starters and then through movers, and then if we're lucky enough to be able to pursue them through the high levels, I think that's a good thing, isn't it? And of course, the clear objectives, because the whole thing is mapped onto the Common European Framework of Reference, always so very helpful. Right, questions. Somebody's put a question in that how to what? You need to be on their Elena. You need to be on their mailing list, I guess. I'm not really very certain about that. Someone's asked how many children could be grouped. Well, you see, that's up to you. I don't think there is any minimum or maximum. I think it's up to us as teachers to be able to work with small and larger numbers of children. I think even possible in school classes, where I know that some schools are looking at classes of 20 to 30 children. As long as you're organized as a teacher, I think then it is still perfectly possible to train groups, large groups as well as small groups. Okay, I think it comes down to practice. It comes down to us as teachers understanding what the children are being asked to do and finding ways of making sure that they have the strategies to do that. Any other questions? Any other questions? We have a couple of minutes before Julia will rejoin us. Oh, there's a teacher's question. An unsatisfactory grade. The question is more, why have they not done their homework? Children cannot fail, that is very true. They just don't get as many shields. I think in the question of the homework, do you negatively grade homework? I think that can be a little discouraging, can't it? I'm sure most of us have systems of stars or smileys or whatever it is that you use for this kind of thing. And I think the important thing is to keep the kids motivated. And in the case of kids who haven't done the homework, then I think it's important to find out why they haven't done the homework. And there could be many reasons for that. They could simply not have understood what you wanted them to do, which means that we need to check our instructions. We need to make sure that they do know that. Narina is saying, oh, but they're lazy. Oh, but how do you know that? Maybe you're not motivating them enough. Maybe you're not encouraging the parents enough. Because I think most kids until they're 9 or 10 are actually motivated enough to do their homework. 10, 11, you begin to have issues with that, but still just saying, 0. I don't think it's very helpful. I don't think it's very motivational. The thing about there was a question which has just disappeared because Julia has arrived. The language to be used in movers and flyers, you mean telling the story, yeah? In movers, they only have to write sentences, really and truly. It's in flyers where they have to write a whole story. And while it is nice if they can write in the past simple, it's not absolutely necessary. The thing about these writing tasks in movers and in flyers is, as long as we can understand what the child is trying to tell us, then we're not going to worry and we're not going to negatively mark language too much. For flyers, telling a story in the present simple is perfectly acceptable because many people do tell stories in the present simple. Is there a pass level for YLE? No. Officially no, because the kids get shields. But if you remember, we had that slide a while back which mapped the whole thing onto the let me see if I can go backwards and get it back for you. I don't know that I can, to be honest. Onto the Common European Framework of Reference. Where was that? We had okay, so you can see just by looking at the number of shields, exactly how that maps into the point system that kicks in with A2 key and all the way up the level. So it's not really a fail or pass-fail thing. It's about the number of shields, as it is at the high level, about the number of points. And whether you get, your certificate at the high level or the low level. All right, people. Julia has rejoined us, I think.
Hi, Claire. Yes, I'm back. I'm back with you. Thank you very much for this webinar. Thank you for this session. I'm sure that all the participants found it very, very useful. Thank you.
There's a new question come in there. Should we pay separate? Maria? Okay, right. All right, I'm just answering the question in the chat box, in the question chat box. Yes and no to the idea of grammar exercises. I think it's always helpful, but I don't think it's the major thing. I think you need to learn language in chunks.